Hey, I'm Blake Bourne. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody. I've been here now, I guess, going on my second year. Will be 2 complete years, February of 22. The one thing, I went to Montevallo High School. My dad was the head coach here and an educator here for 6 years, all from 1998 to 2002. What interested me, like Mr. Bromley said, was when I walked in the school, I guess February of 2020, the weight equipment that we were using was the same equipment that I helped my dad install, I guess in 1998 or 1999. And as you know, in the world of athletics, if you're not doing something, then you're falling behind. And Montevallo was in a position where going on close to 20 to 25 years, there had just not been much progress made in that area. And so, immediately we jumped into that with Mr. Bromley's help. I think we put about 30,000 into our facility, which essentially got the groundwork rolling. We got new racks. We removed some mirrors and some glass that had fallen apart, new dumbbells, all the things that go in that we need from a performance standpoint to give our athletes the best opportunity to be successful. The one part of that project that we were unable to accomplish that we sort of hope to come back around later on was to try to redo the floor. The floor is a little bit newer maybe than the project, but we're currently in a position with our floor where it's getting into some dry rotting and we've had some flooding issues, and we've checked on that, and that quote is about $18,000. And so that's one of the projects that I'd spoken with Sonia with. Really, Sonia's been great, and I appreciate everything she's done for us and for our school. Athletically, there's a number of things that we've been working on. She and I spoke in the summer. Some of you may have seen the improvements we made it there in Fisher. Our school board's been great. I think we spent about $70,000, the Shelby County Board of Education did, to come in, completely revitalize the concession stand. It is essentially the only thing left are the 4 existing walls on the outside. It's been completely gutted. We had no dressing area for our officials. And so game nights at there in Fisher have been extremely hectic for however long they've had this issue. But, the officials' dressing area has been shut down. So we actually were bringing our officials on campus, and then we were getting into all the nuances of where do we park them. There's a safety aspect with the officials of how do we get them in the stadium and out of the stadium safely. Where do they go at halftime with no existing facilities? And again, our Board of Education jumped on that immediately as part of the $70,000 project, renovated officials' dressing rooms, renovated visitors' locker room. There were 2 bathrooms at the stadium that at some point had just been shut down. And it was almost as if somebody took the approach of it's too much to fix. We're just going to close them off altogether. I'd forgotten even that they were there. And our Board of Education fixed those. And if you've been around it, and this is where Sonia and the city have been great. The city pumped in a little bit of money this summer. We got all the buildings freshly painted. As a school, we've probably dumped in another 10 to 12,000 in irrigation and chemical contracts. It's really come together nicely. The thing that we need to do is we've touched there in Fisher, in my opinion. We're going to touch the weight room again. Our weight room is used by every essentially 7 through 12 athlete in this system. We bring middle school students over in the summer. We start training 8th grade student athletes when their respective seasons in there. We probably run upwards of 300 kids a year through our weight room. We've got to make one last update in there. The one thing that we really feel like, and I feel like as the athletic director, and the reason we're coming to the MDCD for help is with our existing gym floor. The best I can tell, it's been about 10 to 12 years from what I'm told by coaches at the high school, people who've been around town, since we really have done the thing the correct way. And that would involve stripping it, taking all the way down to the base, resanding it, striping it, repainting it. We have a really an old and kind of dated volleyball system because of the floor. So we actually still have to drill out holes in the floor. And then over years, when you don't necessarily touch those and kind of work on them each year, they sort of become wattled out. And that's where we're at. So we have some dead spots in our current floor and some areas where we have some work to be done with our volleyball system. And so I think from our standpoint, the next major project that we want to touch is we want to try to do something with our gym. And if you've driven by the outside of the school, we've started with a rebranding and a graphics process. We just completed that up at about $2,500 worth of work to rebrand windows and get some excitement going back in our school. The one thing Mr. Bromley's done a great job with, and that I hear him talk a lot about all the time, is our school culture. And I think that bleeds over into our students. And I think ultimately that bleeds over to our community and gives people a sense of pride about Montevallo and their hometown and where they live and where they went to school. And so we started with our graphics project, but we would love to continue on with the floor. when you look at what we've done, what our school system's done, and what we've done locally, we think we've spent upwards of about 120,000, between 70,000 that the Board of Education's kicked in, and about 40 that our school has locally kicked in, 30 being out of Mr. Bromley's accounts and 10 out of athletics, to touch Darren Fisher, to touch initial weight room projects, to touch all the things that we've done. We kind of are tapped out. We're fundraising our kids to death. In fact, Sonia's son is going with us, I believe, this Saturday at the University of Alabama. We have worked UAB basketball games all through the winter. We've sold everything you could possibly sell. We are doing the University of Alabama this fall, where we expect to raise about $10,000 to $15,000 to help generate and continue on in our process of trying to update our facilities. But we're really, I believe, at a point where we need to come to the city and come to the MDCD to see if there's anything there that they could kick in. We have great kids. As I tell my football team every Friday night, our kids aren't about themselves. Our kids' parents played here, their parents played here. There's a unique sense of pride in this community, and there's a unique sense of pride and focus on our school and our town and all the things that make it great amongst our kids that are walking the halls. And our hope is that we can carry on in this project and really sort of put the finishing touches on what we think would be, a pretty elaborate update to all of our facilities, here at Montevallo High School. So I believe there was an email that was sent out that kind of details some of the work. Best we can tell, we've had multiple companies in, about probably $15,000 to $16,000 to completely take the gym floor all the way down. And that includes renting some equipment and having people come in and update that surface. From the weight room standpoint, there's two different areas in our weight room. We have kind of a primary and a supplemental weight room through some crazy construction that happened a few years ago that my dad was actually a part of, but two different floors that kind of joined together to make one. And that's about another $15,000 to $16,000. So all in all, we think it would be a little under 30. But from our standpoint, that's sort of our last touching, part of the project that would give us a bigger, really grand entry into all of our facilities here. So.
Any questions? Paul?
So you're asking essentially for MDCD to consider 30,000 to do the gymnasium floor and finish the weight room floor.
Yes, that's correct. Like I said, our Board of Education has been great. I think they've kicked in roughly 70,000 so far. Locally we've kicked in about 40, and then we feel like we're sort of tapped with where we're at in the economic state. And so yeah, we're coming to MDCD for that.
I have a concern with that being the primary gym space in town, redoing the floor, and you already having scheduling conflicts. You don't want to take the gym out of commission.
No, we can't.
Okay.
And I think that's been touched on. I should have said something about that as well. But this year is a wild year in athletics. The athletic director, I mean, I could show you our gym calendar. It's a mess. We had a group call the other day and start talking about practice times. And I mean, we literally are booked from 3:00 in the afternoon. Our last practice starts at 7:30. And so we anticipate between 7th grade boys and girls basketball, junior varsity basketball, we will go every day in our facility this winter from 3 to 7. And that's before wrestling even gets in it. And, also we play City League basketball. And I had a great conversation with Shane about that. Our current plan is to, we do have a break in the winter. That's the great thing about schools, is we have about a 15-day period where basketball stops at home, I believe like December 9th or 10th. And then we don't start back until after the holiday in January. So there's a time, we've actually already had the group come out, survey everything, write up quotes. We've got it ready to, that if we were able to get this approved, we could have them in a pretty open window in December and have it ready to go as early as January, I think 4th, when our first game of the new year is.
Okay.
And the same is true with the weight room. The weight room is, the weight room could be done the same amount of time. I mean, if we were to go forward with these, the winter break that we get would be a really good time to have both those projects wrapped up and accomplished.